Welcome to our hangout. We were just talking about hairstyles. So that was the conversation you may have picked up, and as you can tell, I spent a lot of time this morning fixing my hair. I'm Jeff Joseph. I'm the Senior Vice President of Communications and Strategic Relationships with the Consumer Electronics Association, based here in Arlington, Virginia. Probably best known, among many things, for producing the annual International CES. The 2015 CES will be held again in Las Vegas, Nevada, January 6th through 9th. Hopefully you're registered. We hope to see you there. It's going to be a phenomenal show. And one of the things that makes our show so great is we have a variety of fantastic partners who bring in really interesting programming and really interesting exhibitors. And with me this afternoon is Jill Gilbert, who helps run our Digital Health and Silver Summit at CES. Jill's been called, I love this, a modern-day alchemist. She's known for bringing together expert speakers, academics, high-tech disruptors, startups, anyone engaged around a specific issue for what are always interesting and very unique discussions. Jill's had a highly multifaceted career. Her early roles include serving as a e-commerce VP at Bankrate, recently acquired Caring.com, and she's co-founder and CEO of the Gilbert Guide, which is the first national directory and advice source on senior living. I highly recommend it for those of us dealing with aging parents. She's also been in feature film development and production at Columbia Pictures, Disney, and MGM. And wherever she's been, she's really focused on this idea of sharing ideas and information and insights among diverse populations. I think if you come to CES and you attend the summit, you'll find her passion for and her commitment to the idea of sort of reshaping the worlds of healthcare, wellness, living your best digital life, and technology. When she's not working, Jill yearns for a glass of Cabernet. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
I do my research. See, look, and I guess you're a big USC Trojan football fan as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Game this weekend.
We don't know how this year's panning out yet, but
Big game this weekend.
Yes.
UCLA game this weekend.
Say that one more time.
Oh, the UCLA game is this
Oh
weekend.
yeah, I know. And my brother's a Bruin, so we have some fun rivalry going on in the family.
Well, we'll talk about Thanksgiving in a minute. I actually do have that question. But let's just jump right in. And there's a lot of action, a lot of activity around sort of this digital health category. We've got the fitness bands. We have apps that monitor our well-being and share that data. Yeah, so how do you define digital health? What does it mean to you as you approach CS and in your general work?
Digital health is an extremely large umbrella. When you think digital health, I think a lot of people think, oh, just doctors and what's going on with your physician, but it's really this gigantic, it's a gigantic umbrella. So we have everything from communicating with your physician, so things like, telehealth, telemedicine, arrhythmia monitors, all those kinds of things. And then you have things like your smartphone. So you might have a nurse on call kind of situation. So Great Call has a call your nurse or diabetes app or something that's on your smartphone. So we have those things that going on that you maybe are self-tracking. And then when it comes to the wellness category, we might have, a fitness band that also is helping to monitor your sleep. We're going to learn this year at CES how important sleep is, and we can talk about that a little bit further. But these devices that are being created are all falling under digital health. Then we can move even into pharmaceuticals, where we talk about clinical trials and things like that, and how sensors are monitoring people, tracking people that are taking, drugs during a clinical trial, and then we have really accurate reporting, which I know we're going to talk about pharma as well. So it covers so many different areas. You could even go now into the operating room or to your hospital bedroom and say, okay, what's being done within the hospital bedroom? I just had a baby 2 months ago, and I got to experience digital health in action or inaction in my hospital, and what I was constantly thinking, oh, we could really use an upgrade here. So just kind of knowing what I know now, getting to work with all these incredible companies and speakers, it's like, wow, we can start seeing that. So in your hospital room, you could go into the waiting room where you have a great company talking about, wait times that are being incredibly improved within emergency rooms and doctors' offices. So just things like that. So And we all know records. There's been a discussion about records. Electronic medical records, health records, all of that reporting. We have artificial intelligence. It is a gigantic umbrella that that houses a lot of different categories, as you can see.
It's interesting. And market.
And market segments.
And market segments.
There's a lot of specifically seniors and physicians and insurers and the nonprofits that are serving, American Diabetes Association serving their population. I mean, it's just, and then we have our online portals, so we can talk about the web, things like that.
So it's huge.
It's a big umbrella.
Big umbrella. So wait, I do have to interject this question. So without getting into personal details, what were the gaps you saw in your personal experience that you mentioned? What do you see that could be done better or improved or that they just missed?
Yeah. So, and by the way, I don't feel, let me preface it by saying that I don't really feel that they miss it. I just think that hospitals need a really good reason why they're going to upgrade their equipments, right? So, I just saw my bill. So, they are, when they bring something in and they start using it, it has gone through, it needs to live in that hospital for years. They're not constantly replacing out equipment. So a couple examples. I had preeclampsia, pretty bad, and I was in the hospital for about 5 days before they finally delivered the baby. Okay. And I had to be monitored. So my baby had to be monitored, and I had to be monitored 24/7. I was only allowed to get up to go to the bathroom. So I had these monitors on my belly, which was huge at the time, and they are painful monitors. They strap around you, and because of my preeclampsia, I had all this water retention. Mm-hmm. I'm sharing a lot of information now, I know. But
we appreciate your being.
But it's kind of interesting because I felt like that sensors, just literally applied sensors, could have been a lot more effective than these giant things that were strapped, one to monitor Brody, my baby, and one to monitor me. It was, I will tell you, it was the most uncomfortable part of my stay there because they left these indentations on my belly. It was pain. It was just uncomfortable. And I kept thinking, oh, I can't wait to talk to my sensor companies to see what they're doing in this space. But ultimately, they have to have a market, a hospital market that wants to buy them, and they have to. The hospital obviously has to see a monetary, benefit to that. So it was interesting. So very uncomfortable. Communication between IV liquid being depleted. The buzzer goes off in the middle of the night. Why isn't that being communicated earlier on to the nursing staff on call so they can come in and replace it? So not everyone's awakened by these buzzers and that. Those are just a couple little things.
No, I think those are great examples. I'll very, very quickly, I had a negative experience in the hospital a couple of years ago that largely went around sort of my personal health history. There was just a mistake, and had we had a way to sort of carry those medical records and share them across all the, you have all these people coming to your hospital room and they're not talking to each other. Had we had some sort of technology to allow for that sharing, it would have saved a lot of time and probably stopped the problem. Oh. It wasn't as painful physically, but it's certainly painful emotionally.
Records is a great example of where I hope we start seeing the most improvement. I am so, I'm like the naysayer now, but I am so exhausted of having to go into every single office and fill out forms. Mm-hmm. It is ridiculous. Same information over and over again. It's exhausting. So I was shocked. And this year we are, I've noticed that within my hospital, which is Sutter, it's right up the street, which is why I'm pointing that way. Where Sutter is, I've noticed that we've seen much better collaboration with the information. So, like, I had to go get certain tests done, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we have your records here." It's like, thank God. Yeah.
So we have, on the one hand, we have all this activity occurring sort of in the consumer space, and there's a lot of activity, a lot of investment, a lot of innovation, and then, as you know, we have another space over here, largely on the provider and hospital side, where they don't seem to have the incentives, perhaps, or the infrastructure to sort of modernize and move forward. And I think you mentioned this, but one key part comes from who's going to pay, right? How can they afford and justify that?
Is there a reason?
I'm sorry?
What's the
Right, right. So what are you hearing from hospitals, and what are you hearing from the payer side? Are they beginning to look at this technology and beginning to support it from an insurer's perspective?
I think they are in many cases, but I think it's one of those things that they all don't want to jump in and just head first. I think there's some so what I found is I've had a lot of discussions, and one of our sessions actually is addressing this. The CIOs of these hospitals, we're bringing the CIO from Chief Information Officers from both Cedars-Sinai down in Los Angeles and Stanford up here in the Northern California. Obviously, two really awesome, awesome hospitals, and to bring these CIOs together to talk about the challenges, how they look at technology,
Hmm.
what are what is necessary for them. Like they ultimately have a struggle, right? So they have a financial desire, but for instance, if you look at my sensors, is it mandatory that they replace those sensors that I talked about on my belly? It's absolutely not mandatory because it's still doing the job. It's
Right.
not doing the job. I just was uncomfortable.
Hmm.
So where is the demand coming from? And ultimately, I think most of the demand comes from the Affordable Care Act
Right.
for readmissions. That's a big thing for them. So telemedicine, telehealth, what are their programs that they have? It comes down to efficiencies and records. It comes down to mandates from the government.
Hmm.
What are they mandated to do? When we talked about these records, what were they? What were their deadlines in doing that, and were there incentives involved? And so I think that. And then you have some hospitals that have big money that are saying we want to be the most cutting edge
Right.
hospitals, so we're gonna invest in this. And then you have maybe the hospitals that are maybe county hospitals or something that they want to provide great care, but they may not want the most cutting edge stuff because implementing that is going to take years, perhaps.
Right, right, right. No, understandable. Well, let's go to the consumer side a little bit, since that's what we'll be largely talking about at CS. That's what CS is about. What trends are you seeing on the consumer side when we're seeing these wearables and those become so popular? But as we sort of take this deeper dive into this intersection of technology and personalized healthcare, what are some of the trends or interesting products that you're seeing?
I really think that we're doing a session this year called Beyond the Bands. I really think we're potentially, while the wrist wearables have been popular, I think what we're finding is a couple different things. One is you can measure potentially even more accurately from other parts of the body.
Mm.
So we'll start seeing wearables potentially up. I'm calling them sensibles myself, but how these sensibles can be applied to the body and communicate with your phone. So it may not be necessarily a hardware device. It could be something that actually is more tattoo-ish,
Cool.
or some sort of application that applies to your body that lives on there, 2 weeks or so, and communicates with your phone and only through Bluetooth, or any other sort of communication protocol. So I think that those are where we're going, because I while I see the band value for those that kind of wear watches on a daily basis or enjoy that sort of immediate feedback, I think there's a lot of people in healthcare, and wellness that are going to just want to have something that you can apply. I think I'm that person, so that's why I feel like I haven't worn a watch since I got my iPhone.
Hmm.
So I'm one of those people that wants to apply a patch and yet still get this information passively, that I don't have to constantly like look down and tap and check in or charge or whatever the issues are around something on the wrist. So we'll be featuring a lot of that stuff on our side, as well as things in the home.
It's such a
The smart home, how the smart home is getting healthy. So we have, especially when it comes to the aging population.
mm. So
So, yeah.
no, no, go ahead. I was just gonna ask for some examples.
Yeah. Well, some of the companies that really seem to be kind of improving all of this stuff are everything from Ideal Life, again, also working with hospitals. We have they work with hospitals and in the home.
Mm.
especially upon discharge from a hospital. But then we have companies like Omron and Independa and Grand Care, GE, their products, all of these home products, Care Innovations, are coming into the home. Even in our lifelong tech segment, which I know we're not talking about, but it's another segment I get to produce at CES besides digital health. We have Lively and other kind of interesting products that are monitoring people in their homes, in their place of home, and on the go. Mobile Health this year is launching they've been the GPS sort of fall detection system in the past, and now they're sort of launching their home monitoring thing, so you can monitor your blood pressure, weight, etc. Through that. And I imagine these sensors, one of the things we'll discover this year, again, I'm not the innovator bringing these technologies, but hopefully bringing the people together to share with you what they are. We'll have biosensors. What's going on in the biosense space where, temperature, calories, expenditure are being evaluated from your skin level, from that level versus potentially a piece of hardware. So I think we're going to start seeing these invisibles that will really be showcased. We'll always have hardware. We'll always have our scales, right? A sensor can't necessarily check our weight, but I think there's going to be huge strides that will be brought to the show this year by a lot of these companies. One of the other areas on the consumer side is the brain. We have some really cool stuff. Interaxon has kind of blown it out of the water, actually. Interaxon has brought the news to CES in the past, but just literally is blowing up this year, which means there's a demand for these kinds of technologies.
Hopefully not literally. Let's just to be clear.
What?
Hopefully not literally blowing up the brain.
Oh, exactly. Sorry, it's blowing up. They're blowing up like there's so much attention in our general media about these devices. Which, when I started about 5 years ago, I was kind of like, come to CES, come to CES. And now, where the demand for these kinds of devices, I mean, even just the press, they're sending their own press people. Right. So, we used to have people that monitored the press from healthcare from afar, and now they actually send them to CES for our show. So it goes to show you that there's a consumer demand, which means there's a press demand, which means there's demand for the product, and hopefully these, what's happening is these companies are creating products that are consumable and likable.
Well, we're seeing great growth in this category at CS and throughout the industry. So as we talk about all these different technologies and the monitoring, the data collection, I want to ask you about sleep quickly in a second, but it raises the obvious question of you have all this big data being collected and transferred. What do you hear from consumers about privacy, or maybe the better question is, what are you hearing from some of the technology companies and the innovators about how they're addressing privacy and security concerns?
I personally think it's probably top of their list. People, we're trustworthy, but I think that we also are skeptical, knowing issues have occurred even in in the places that we most found trusting, right? Like the whole Target thing that happened with credit cards. So I think that it is a huge concern in healthcare more than potentially any other area except financial, that this data is so protected, and we have HIPAA compliance to deal with as well. So first of all, you have sort of your clinical products, your medical products that have FDA approvals attached to them, that have HIPAA to deal with. There are privacy is probably number one. It has to be protected. And then we have what's on the more consumer side, if you want to call it, I have my own terminology, the over-the-counter products.
Right.
The over-the-counter products that people can go buy. There are I think there are major issues with protecting them, and then I think when you sign up, potentially you have these questions that you have to answer about sharing data. I know
Whoops. Uh-oh.
donating their data and the importance of sharing your data in a secure way so that it's not like you, Jeff, have to share your data. It's that you get to share your data based on your body, your height, your health, and how valuable that data can be. Can you donate this data? And I just read about the Patients Like Me thing recently. I thought that was fantastic. Um, they've been an aggregator of data for years. And there's immense value to it, but these companies have to be concerned about disclosing who it's from and all of that stuff. So privacy is a big issue. Data analysis is. We were looking at the themes of the show. You know, we create the sessions and don't necessarily always think about the themes and see the themes kind of emerge.
Mm-hmm.
And the emergence, even though I don't even call out data everywhere, is data and how it's being utilized and how it's being utilized, how it's being communicated to the consumer, how the consumer's appetite for that information may not look like data, it will look like other types of things.
Yeah.
And then we have the medical side as well for data, which is, you know, are doctors getting this information analyzed? How are they able to make quicker decisions based on data that they have, not only on the patient, but on the larger population? So I think that will be a big theme as well at the show this year.
We talk a lot here about sort of the digitization of data. We have all this data, analog data. To your point, we have weight, we've got our blood pressure monitoring, our heart rate. It's always been analog. You digitize it, and then it becomes actionable. To your point, right? That hopefully you can get quicker results. You can do better data mining to help provide or help lead to whether it's new pharmaceuticals or other solutions. But that digitization of all that analog data was one of the big trends at the show. Beyond not just in healthcare, but I think it's most interesting in healthcare. I do want to touch quickly on the pharmaceutical side. So we talked about hospitals, talked about the consumer side. What innovations are you seeing on the pharmaceutical side that sort of play into this digital health world?
Well, I'd say this year is the first year we're really doing a heavy focus on pharma. And ultimately, this is like my opinion, they haven't had, you know, huge strides utilizing digital health, right? So this is the first year we're really starting to see significant partnerships utilizing digital health. So a couple examples will be around clinical trials. So in the past, while I have never been a clinical trial, you know, member of any clinical trial, I think that one of the interesting things is how they have to self-report. So what happens is, if I'm taking a pill during a clinical trial, I'm checking in with, you know, nursing staff or the clinical trial staff reporting back what's going on with me, right? That's generally what happens. So sensors have taken that to an entirely new level. And what we're going to start seeing is how these sensors, biometric sensors that are attached to the body, can actually monitor you without self-reporting, right? So your body is continually reporting this data back to the pharma company on the efficacy of the drug. So that, I think, will be the biggest jump forward, because pharma's, I mean, that's what they do. They're constantly testing, you know, new drugs, and how are they working? So now it takes the consumer out of having, or the patient out of having to report back and questioning whether or not that data is real or not, because now we have real data. So we have, you know, body temperature, whatever it is that biosensor is detecting, it's getting reported back. So it takes a lot of the question marks out of the actual reporting mechanism. So I think we have some exciting things coming in pharma. And we have two big companies that we've worked with, Qualcomm and MC10, both doing incredible work in the sensor world, teaming with incredible pharmaceutical companies that really want to take a leap forward and say, how do we do it better?
Right.
How do we do it better? How will we do it better? And how do we do it more effectively and efficiently and all of these things? So I think I'm just excited to sit in on those sessions, to be honest with you.
Well, it's not a bad position you sit in to get to see the intersection of all these worlds. We're running down to the last few minutes. I want to hit on two quick things. One, so you get to see this entire world and this intersection of all these different markets coming together around digital health. And you clearly have a lot of passion, but when you sit with your brother next, there you go. I love digital health. Very good. I'm hiding my tattoo. When you family next week over Thanksgiving and you're getting over the wounds of the USC-UCLA game, what are you going to talk about? What are you so excited about that you can't wait to share with your family?
Oh my God. Well, my dad's an oncologist, and he attends the show every single year as a physician, and also my dad and my mom as well. So they attend the show every single year because they're physicians and they're looking at this technology, right? So what will the conversation be? We are constantly talking about new developments. My dad is a ravenous news junkie, financial junkie, healthcare junkie. So he constantly is sending me things because there's just so much going on, you can't even keep up with it. And so I imagine they'll be wanting to know who's our big speaker. So one of the things we're excited to bring this year, healthcare doesn't have a lot of celebrity around it, and yet I have this desire to always kind of make it really, I use that word sexy, but to make it kind of sexy for consumers, so it's something that they feel they want to learn more about. So that is definitely always a challenge for us. And so Dr. Phil this year is coming, and one of the things that he is focused on, obviously, mental health, and we're going to see some big announcements around mental health and telemedicine, things that are not only supposed to have help in that area, but are having effective results already. So this concept of telepsychiatry is very exciting. People in their homes that are, dealing with depression, that don't want to leave their home. I mean, I think we have potential for huge strides to be made in this area, and so I'm really excited to bring Dr. Phil in because this is, while he's celebrity Dr. Phil, he's also practicing psychiatrist,
right?
A psychologist, excuse me. And I think that I think it's going to be really interesting. We're starting to see these worlds merge in places that maybe we didn't expect it to.
Right.
So that's one of the things we'll definitely talk about. And there's always interest on my brother's side and my parents' side around the consumer interest in healthcare. So what are people buying and what are people doing? And ultimately, I'll tell you, my dad's biggest, what do they call it? The drum beating, right? His drum beating is always really around the senior population. Seniors need it most. And it's not sexy, and yet it's so essential. That is the most consumed market of healthcare. They are consuming. Most money is spent in that time of our lives. We're living longer. We have a bigger population. It's really where the focus should be. So we'll spend time talking about that, I'm sure.
Very good. Well, that's very exciting. You talk about the intersection of all these technologies and healthcare. I was interviewing the president of a company, Parrot. It's a French company, and they're known for many things, but including the development of consumer drones. And we were talking about the excitement on drones, and one of the areas that he was most optimistic about and most excited about was the ability to use drones to deliver pharmaceuticals to people who live in remote areas. So sub-Saharan African villages where you could literally have them receive their pharmaceuticals on a regular basis via drones, cuts down the costs, et cetera. So So yeah, I think that's one of the great things about CES, where you see these worlds come together, and you may look at this one technology from a single lens, and then you come to CES and you see, oh my gosh, all these possibilities begin to open up.
Robotics, I think that's why. I do think it's why we've had so much success at CES, is this convergence of the different areas. So I remember digital health the last couple of years has been right next to automobiles. And you would think, well, why? But amazingly enough, 2 years ago, Ford delivered a keynote at our show about the doctor in your car.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at, things that are being measured in the automobile. And people spend a lot of time in their cars, so in many parts of the country. And so, diabetes monitoring, we had, I'm drawing a blank, I'm sorry. But anyway, we had some incredible companies that were part of the show, especially as integrating into automobiles. So, and robotics, robotic surgeries, robotic medication deliveries. I saw a robot at the hospital the other day delivering medications. Crazy.
It's a brave new world. Well, we're so excited.
Brave new world. Yep, we have a session every day called "It's a Brave New World," and
there you go.
It's going to be a new doc, and it's crazy. So.
And sexy. It's crazy and sexy.
It is sexy. It is. I think we're finally there, where it's like not, the sort of stale sort of healthcare discussions anymore. It's progressive discussion. And one of the things, if I can mention really quickly, is Everyday Health does this, teams with us and produces an awards program. We have the Everyday Health Awards for Innovation. And we just this Monday announced the finalists, the 21 finalists. We have a panel of incredible judges. And so we have audience voting is open on the Everyday Health Awards site right now, which is so cool. And they get through it through our website. But just to see some of the innovations that are coming through there, I was like, really?
Yeah.
Like, even I do get to see a lot, but I'm always surprised at kind of how people think about things. I mean, we're seeing a convergence in pet health right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the pet area is taking technology on and saying, how are we going to make pet health better? Can we monitor urine, for example, when cats are going in, litter boxes, and it's fascinating.
Well, Jill, thank you so much for sharing your vision, your insights. We so look forward to your sessions and the exhibits at the 2015 International CES. Thank you for sharing some time with me today. Good luck as we prepare in the final few weeks at the CES. Thank our viewing audience, for joining us. We hope to see you at CES. You can find more information at www.cesweb.org. You can follow me at J.A. Joseph, leading up to and throughout the CES and afterwards. And Jill, where can we find you?
My email is jill.gilbert@digitalhealthsummit.com, and we have our @DH Twitter, and then I have my @GilbertGuide Twitter that is always there. So
very good. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Have a great afternoon, and hopefully we'll see you in Las Vegas.
Bye.
Bye.